Yes, I love technology, but not as much as you see. But I still love technology, always and forever.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We are in lesson number 5 of our study, The TechWise Family, Everyday Steps for Putting Technology in its Proper Place. Again, here it is. I highly recommend you getting this and reading along with us. Let me ask you a question as we begin. Who here has been to a movie lately? Now, when you go to a movie, do you try to get there early enough to see the previews, or do you even care? Now, for me, I love the previews. I always have. To me, that's part of the movie-going experience, right? If I'm going to be late and miss the previews, I'd rather go to a movie at a different time. All right, I like to be there for the whole thing. Now, I know that's kind of an ironic question considering the topic of this study, especially today's topic, but ignore the hypocrisy for just a moment and let me make my point. If you're a movie goer, you've seen the previews to movies. Have you ever seen a preview to a movie and you immediately knew, I want to see that movie? Right? The preview just got you excited about it. All right? Happened to me. It's happened to me many times. I'm sure it's happened to you as well. Now, what about the opposite? Have you ever seen a preview and immediately thought, I am not seeing that movie. I do not want to see that movie. Right? Hannah and I, my wife Hannah, we don't like scary movies. Neither one of us ever have liked scary movies. So when I see a preview for a scary movie, I immediately know, not going to see that one. There's no chance that I'm going to see that movie. Right? I don't like movies that end sad. Right? So if I see a preview and it looks like it's a sad movie, or maybe it's based on a true story, I know it's going to end badly, nope, not going to see it. I immediately know I'm not going. My point today is this. If today's topic were a movie and you just watched the preview for this movie, the vast majority would probably say, no, thank you. I don't want this lesson. All right. This is not going to be a very popular lesson, most likely. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But remember what we said in week number 1. Some of what we're going to talk about is going to be difficult. It's going to be uncomfortable. So before you completely disregard this lesson, here's what I ask. Keep an open mind. All right? Especially if you have young children. If you don't have children, this lesson probably won't bother you that much. But if you have young children, teenagers all the way down, but especially young children, you're probably not going to like this lesson. But I ask you to keep an open mind. And again, just because we may not agree with everything doesn't mean we can't learn. So let's just jump in and find out what we're talking about. Today we're looking at TechWise commitment number 5. TechWise commitment number 5. We aim for no screens before double digits at home and at school. We aim for no screens. By screens, we mean telephones, tablets, televisions, video games, computer screens, anything with a digital screen. We aim for no screens before double digits. And by double digits, we mean age. So basically what we're saying here is, for children 9 years old and younger, no screens. That's our goal. No screens, no smartphones for kids 9 and under. No computer time, no tablet time, no video game time. Really, and we're going to talk about TV, but really heavily limiting TV time. No screens before double digits. Now, notice this commitment is a goal. We said we aim for this, okay? Are there exceptions? Yes, I believe there are some exceptions. Will we just fail sometimes? Yes, we're just going to fail sometimes, but this is our goal, okay? Furthermore, this doesn't mean that when a child hits 10, that's a magical number or a magical age, and all of a sudden you throw technology at them. Oh, you're 10. Here's a smartphone. Here's a tablet. Here's a computer. Watch all the TV you want. It's not what we're saying, okay? For any child or teenager, their technology should be monitored. It should be limited. But when we're talking about 9 and under, we're talking about, almost nothing. Okay? So before you start shooting holes in this and before you say that's a horrible idea, let's just look at this together, okay? Keep an open mind. At the end of the lesson, you still may not agree with it, but let's at least look at it. Here's what Andy Crouch is suggesting. First, we've got to talk about the why. Why would we even recommend something like this? Why would we even consider something like this? Right? We know we use our devices too much. We've already said that. We've talked about that at length at this point. We know all the statistics. But why might we want to limit technology specifically to children 9 and under? Why is it that at that age, Andy Crouch is suggesting we go so extreme and say no screens at all for 9 and under? Why is that? Fact of the matter is, human beings were created by God and comprised of mind, body, and soul. If you want to get real technical, your mind or your brain is part of your body. So God created us body and soul. Okay, we are physical, we are spiritual. And when God created us like this, He declared it's good. So God created human beings, body and soul, physical and spiritual. He then put us, listen, He then put us into a 3-dimensional world that He created. And it's at that point that we read in Genesis chapter 1, verse 31, and God saw everything that He had made. So He made humans, body and soul. He put them into this 3-dimensional world. And when He looked at everything, it says that God saw everything that He had made, and behold, it was very good. Therefore, we are created by God to experience life through our physical bodies, which includes all 5 of our senses: sight, smell, taste, hearing, and touch. God created us with 5 senses, and He put us into a world where we are supposed to experience life with all 5 of our senses. Okay? Furthermore, scientists have long agreed on the fact that learning best takes place when we utilize all 5 of our senses. Okay? When we can utilize all sight, smell, I got all confused. Sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing. When we can use all 5 of our senses, we actually learn better. But that only happens when we interact with the 3-dimensional world that God has created. So we learn better when we use all of our senses. However, screens only utilize 2 of our 5 senses: sight and hearing. Now I know you're going to try to say, oh, well, there's touch as well, but there's not, okay? You're holding a cold piece of metal and glass, and you're touching a flat screen, okay? When we talk about touch, we're talking about touching and interacting with the 3-dimensional world God has created, okay? We're talking about feeling the dirt and the grass and a tree, okay? You can't do that on a tablet. Everything feels the same, so you're really not utilizing touch. You're utilizing 2 senses. You can see and you can hear. And from a learning and developmental standpoint, this is detrimental when abused. When abused. I'm not saying it's always bad. We can learn by watching. We can learn by hearing. But when we abuse technology and use it too much, then it's detrimental to our learning and development, especially for children. And we've already discussed, we abuse it, right? Crouch writes this: physical activity engages our brains in ways that mere thought or contemplation does not. We are made to live and learn in a physical world, and no human beings are more exuberantly and fundamentally rooted in the body than children. As children, our bodies are full of energy and primed for physical learning. We are designed to explore our world and learn through all our senses. How many times have we as adults commented about how much energy our children have, or how curious they are, or how they get into everything? We say that all the time. There's actually a biblical and developmental reason for this. God created them that way. God created children with more energy, and God created children's brains to actually learn faster than adults. So children go and they explore, and as they experience life with their 5 senses, they learn. Children are supposed to be curious. They're supposed to be energetic because that's how they learn. Right? Columbia University did a study, and here's what they said. The creativity of children is caused by their prefrontal cortex, which gives them the ability to be flexible and inventive. Kids have minds that are designed to learn, and adults have minds designed to perform. Let me say that again. Kids have minds that are designed to learn. Adults have minds that are designed to perform. Our minds are different. When we're young, when we're a child, our minds are designed for learning. However, when we sit our children in front of a screen, more than we allow them out in the world to explore and create and imagine, we're actually hurting them. We're hindering their learning. We're hindering their development. Recently, a cognitive scientist co-authored a book with one of the principal researchers from Microsoft. And they were studying and comparing the effects on learning when reading a real physical book compared to when reading from a digital screen. Do you know what their research showed? The study found that the physical act of reading a book with its bound pages helps strengthen the learning of the concepts inside. Right? Here's what their study found out. If you read a book, you can read one book, a real book, a hardcover, paperback, whatever, real book, compared to a book on a digital screen, and you will actually learn more when you read the real book. They said there's something about the physical nature of holding the book, of turning the pages, that increases memory, recall, and learning of the material. If you want to increase memory and recall even more, you know what you do? You pick up a pencil or a pen and you take notes. All right, we've all been there in school where our teacher asked us to write our spelling words over and over and over again. Why? Because seeing them is one thing. Hearing them is another. Picking up a pencil or a pen and writing them down uses another one of our senses. And the more senses we use, the more we learn. All right? That's the way God created us, and scientists have confirmed this. And this same principle applies to all areas of learning. Our children, specifically 9 and under is what we're talking about, our children were created by God to experience the physical world with all their senses. If you want your child to grow and learn and develop to the best of their ability, they need to touch things, smell things, see things, taste things, hear things. They need to use all of their senses. And screens don't let us do that. Now, not only do our children learn better when they utilize their senses, but studies also show that children learn better when they're challenged. Now, think about this for a moment. Children learn better when they're challenged. In your experience, does technology make things easier or more challenging? Now, there are those who are not technology fans, and they're going to say, oh, technology makes things harder. But if we're honest, the entire goal of technology is to make things easier. That's its goal. That's its purpose. Again, Andy Crouch writes, they are, speaking of technological devices, he says they are exquisitely engineered to be easy to use, and their screens glow in colors far brighter than we almost ever see in nature. No wonder they are so enticing to children. And it's neither surprising nor impressive that children figure them out so quickly. All right, this needs to be said again, because I hear people talk about all the time, oh, children learn how to use the phone so quickly. Yes, they do, because it's easy. It's supposed to be easy. It was created to be easy. It is not impressive that my 5-year-old knows how to use a phone. The phone was created to be easy. Okay, it's not impressive when kids know how to use technological devices. That's what they were made for. The device has been specifically engineered to be as easy as possible, and listen, to be as addictive as possible. The people who create these things want you to use them over and over and over again. And so what do? They make them easy and they make them addictive because they want to make money. They're not concerned with your children. They're not concerned with teaching your kids. They're not concerned with helping you become a family. They're not concerned with your walk with Christ. Listen, these companies want to make money. and they make money by making things easy to use and addictive. And that's what they do. Science has proven that children learn faster than adults. Okay? Therefore, the last thing we want to do is to make everything easy for them. All right? If they learn faster, we want to challenge them. It is a waste of their early years if we don't. Again, Andy Crouch says this: difficulty and resistance, as long as they are age appropriate and not too discouraging, are actually what press our brains and bodies to adapt and learn. From the earliest games of peekaboo to the challenge of mastering a sport or a musical instrument, we are designed to thrive on complex, embodied tasks that require the engagement of many senses at once. And not just our senses, but our muscles. But now, very early on in our lives and learning, we are substituting a single kind of activity, a dangerously easy and simple one, for the difficult, multidimensional kinds of activities that the real world offers us. Let me reword that for you. There used to be a day when children went outside to play. They were forced to create, to exercise, to imagine, to discover, to explore, to learn. We gave them lessons in musical instruments. We taught them to paint and to color and to draw. We told them to go outside and entertain themselves. It was part of their education. It was part of their social development. It was part of their physical health. It fostered independence, confidence, imagination, and creativity. And now what do? Now, far too often, we sit them in front of a screen and we spoon feed them entertainment that does very little, if any, of these things. And we do it at the worst possible time of their lives, when they're young. And we waste the learning potential that God has given them. According to Barna Research, children spend an average of 5 hours a day on electronic devices. So again, everything: tablets, phones, televisions, video games. 5 hours a day. If their younger years are designed by God for learning through exploring God's creation with their 5 senses, isn't there a better way for them to spend 5 hours a day than sitting in front of a screen, being spoon-fed entertainment that does nothing for them? Before we move into the practical application of this TechWise commitment, I want us to understand that this is not just one man's opinion. Okay, this is not just the author of this book, Andy Crouch. This is not just his opinion. According to a February 2018 article, which I highly recommend everyone reads. It's in Business Insider. If you want the whole article, you can email me, admin@easternoaks.org, and I'll send you the link to this article. But according to this article, Silicon Valley parents can see firsthand, either through living or working in the Bay Area, that technology is potentially harmful to kids. Many parents are now restricting or outright banning screen time for their children. The trend follows a long-standing practice among high-level tech executives who have set limits for their own children for years. Listen to me. There is a growing trend in the technological community to limit or completely do away with digital devices for their children. Let me make this clear. The very people that are inventing the apps, the devices that we use every day, they won't even let their children use them. Okay? Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft, had a policy in his house that his children could not have a phone at all until they turned 14. No phone until they turned 14. Steve Jobs, who was the CEO of Apple until his death in 2012, listen to this. He prohibited his children from using the iPad. Think about that. The creator of the iPad would not let his children use the iPad because he knew it was addictive, because he knew it did not foster learning. The people who invent this stuff and sell it to us to make money won't let their own children use it. There's a growing trend in Silicon Valley where these tech executives are sending their children to schools that are technology-free zones. They are purposely sending their kids to schools that do not allow laptops. They don't allow smartphones. They don't allow televisions. They do everything old school, books and paper and pens. Why? Because they know that learning this technology stuff is easy and they'll get it later. But when they're young, they don't need it. Again, this is just, it should be shocking to us that the very people that are selling us this stuff won't let their kids use it. And we're letting our kids use it for sometimes 5 hours a day. That's scary. You know, it's not just in the home either, okay? We need to be advocates for whatever schools our kids go to limit technology. I'm not saying technology is bad. Again, technology can be very helpful, okay? And again, this may sound odd because many parents and many educators think that technology is a must-have in the classroom. And it can be helpful. I'm not saying that it's not helpful. It can be helpful. But in some cases, it's doing more harm than good. Okay? The technology in the classroom is so new that we're just now beginning to see the results. And the studies that are just now being done are finding out that the old way was better. The studies that are just now being done are finding out that real books are better than digital books. That dissecting a real frog in biology class, while gross, actually is better than just watching someone else do it on TV because you learn more. You know, it's not just about the effects on traditional education. Technology is also having a negative impact on their social development. Yes, our kids can text. They can crush candy. They can post a selfie better than most. But they can't function in society. They can't talk to people. They can't go to a restaurant and order their own meal. They can't walk up to a stranger and have a conversation at school. There's got to be a better way. And in this case, newer is not better. This is why Crouch recommends no screens before double digits. I know it's extreme. But his recommendation is to let your kids be kids. Let them experience life with all 5 of their senses. They're going to get plenty of time in the future with technology. Let's limit it now. So what might this practically look like? Well, at home, it means making some very unpopular changes. Okay? Your children are probably going to hate you for a while. And that's a good sign. Okay? That's probably a sign that you're doing something right. I'll be honest with you. My kids already hate this book. We've been talking about this book at home as a family. We've been talking about some changes that we're going to make as a family. My kids already hate this book. They don't even know who Andy Crouch is, but they don't like him. It means turning off the television. Okay? It means taking away their devices. Taking them away. Not just restricting some time, but taking them away. They don't need phones. If they're, good grief, if your kid's 9 and under, they don't need a phone. Okay? They ain't got nobody to call. If you absolutely have to have a phone for security purposes, you know what? They make phones now that do nothing but make phone calls. No internet access, no apps, no Candy Crush, no Snapchat. They just make phone calls. If your kid has to have a phone, give them one of those phones. What in the world are they going to do all day? I don't know. Read a book. Play a game. Play with non-electronic toys that help them learn, like Legos. All right? Get them a hobby. If they're old enough, dare I say it, give them some chores to do. It means encouraging our kids to go outside and play, to imagine, to create, to discover, to ride their bike, to go swimming, to climb a tree, to get dirty. And here's the hardest part. You go do this with them. You put down your phone. You turn off the TV. You turn off the video game. You stop watching screens and go outside and live life with your child. Play with them. Build Legos with them. Play Barbie dolls with them. Go ride your bikes together. Go in the kitchen and bake some cookies together. Cook dinner together. Do these things with them. Is it going to be unpopular at first? Yes, it's going to be unpopular at first. But I guarantee you, they'll thank you for it. Are there exceptions? Sure there are. All right. Can we use technology sometimes? Absolutely. Again, our goal is not to be legalistic, okay? Maybe we start with baby steps. Progress is progress, right? Secondly, as we've said, technology is not bad. There are times when you're having a conversation with your kids and they have questions and you don't know the answers. Hey, Google knows. Get it out. Get your phone out. Google it. Find the answers together, but then put the phone down, okay? There's a YouTube video showing you something that you've been talking about. Show them that YouTube video, but then turn it off and put it away. All right? Again, have a movie night with your family, but don't make it an every night thing. Make it a special thing. Pop popcorn, build blanket forts, make it special. Personally, I think Saturday morning cartoons are a rite of passage for every child. Now again, Andy Crouch, the author of this book, he's going to disagree with me, and that's okay. I let my kids watch cartoons on Saturday mornings. It's not something we do every day. It's not something we do every Saturday. A lot of Saturdays we have other things to do and we can't. But when we can, we get up on Saturday mornings and I'll drink coffee and read, and they'll watch cartoons for an hour or so. Not all day, just for a little while during the mornings. And then we go outside. At school, what do we need to do with our schools? Well, oftentimes we don't have a lot of control over this. But we can be advocates for the older ways. We can be advocates for our children having real books and not iPads. Okay? You know what? We used to have to lug around a backpack full of books. And now kids at school, they got one iPad and they got everything. All right? Newer is not always better. Okay? Here's something difficult. What about at a friend's house? This is where it gets tough. This is where sometimes you have to accept, parents, that you're not your child's friend. You're their parent. Sometimes you have to be the bad guy, okay? If your child has a friend or a family member that abuses technology and you're aware of this, don't let them go over there, all right? My two kids, if they have friends and I know that they abuse technology, that I know that they're allowed unmonitored access, my kids don't go to their house. Okay? My kids don't spend the night, okay? Because I know that they're going to abuse technology when they're there, and my kids are more important to me than that. Now, does that make them unhappy sometimes? It does, but that's okay. That's part of life. It's okay if your kids are unhappy sometimes. I get it. This is difficult. This sounds extreme. It sounds unreasonable, especially because we've been abusing technology so much. We've been letting our kids play video games for hours and watch movies late into the night. And this is such a radical change. But parents, our role is not to be popular. Our role is not to be our child's friends. We are to raise them to love the Lord. We are to raise them to be productive members of society. And technology sometimes is not helping. All right? We need to ask ourselves, are we abusing technology, especially for our youngest ones, especially for our children? Right? I see kids all the time, everywhere, restaurants on their phones, in the cars on their phones. We're going to talk about that next week. You know, out at the ballpark on their phones. Not exploring, not creating, not inventing, not using their five senses. We can do better. Next week, we're going to talk about we use screens for a purpose and we use them together rather than using them aimlessly and alone. We use screens for a purpose. So again, we do use them sometimes. We're not getting rid of all of them. But when we use them together. We use them for a purpose. Here's some scriptures I want you to read this week. Philippians chapter 4, verse 11. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 6 through 8. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 11 through 13. While you're reading, ask yourself some questions. What is an activity you find boring? Is there something that bores you? Maybe football bores you, or I don't know, whatever. Something bores you. I don't know how football could bore you, but maybe it does. When you find yourself suffering from boredom, what do? Is there any good that could possibly come from boredom? If so, what? Do you think we have an addiction to technology and entertainment? Do you think we're addicted to distraction and entertainment? How might this need, if we're addicted to it, how might this need to be constantly entertained and distracted affect our relationship with Christ? How might it affect our relationship with others? And then if we do have that addiction, how do we break it? How do we break an addiction to distraction, an addiction to entertainment? What might it mean to use screens for a purpose? What purpose would there be? And why might we want to commit to using them only when we're together and not when we're alone? There's some questions you to consider next week or for next week. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today. We thank you for your blessings. We thank you for technology. It is amazing. It can do so many things. It can make so many things easier and quicker and more convenient. Lord, but help us to understand that quicker and more convenient and easier is not always better. Lord, I pray that you give us wisdom and courage to know what's right and to do what's right. In your name I pray. Amen. All right, guys. See you next time.
Yes, I love technology, but not as much as you see. But I still love technology, always.